So do you also suspect that this is some kind of a new tactics to steal votes, to steal the mandate? Do you see this as some kind of a new tactics?
Yes, I think so. I remember the last intensive survey in Bihar was done in 2003. At the time, there is one Mr. KJ Rao, who was an employee of the Election Commission. Later on, he was appointed as advisor. He went from door to door and verified. It became a hero, a legend in Bihar. He did a fantastic, very good job. I invited Mr. KJ Rao to come to Visakhapatnam to show me. I was retired at that time. We went to a constituency. We did a limited door-to-door survey, and I saw how he does it. This is not the way. He did it in a very, very constructive way. Instead of that, I don't know why Election Commission suddenly thought of these very, very exotic things like Forest Rights Act certificate and something, that kind of thing is very, very, I feel very worried because this will lead to a great deal of harassment. And Election Commission, every member, he's selected through a process where the majority is the political executive, NDA government. So there is already a feeling they're not independent. So they should go out of the way to establish their trust with the people. I wish the highest court in the country, looks at all this TV coverage and all these reports and all that, takes no more cognizance of this. At least they should ask questions saying, why? Are you excluding? See, excluding a voter from the electoral process is a very serious matter. And subjecting him to harassment as an additional dose.
It's like disenfranchising crores and crores of voters, not only in one state, that is Bihar, but since they have said that they will replicate a similar exercise in other states, so which means it's going to create havoc in the country. Mr. Sarma, you have decades of bureaucratic experience. Have you ever seen any government disenfranchising its own citizens like this on the pretext of revising the electoral rolls? Have you ever heard at all in the history of India? Previously.
Never. I conducted elections in a district, and I was in the bureaucracy for almost about 35 years. But this never happened. This kind of developments, I feel very worried.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Controversy around the special intensive revision of the Bihar electoral rolls is refusing to die down. In fact, as the days are passing by, the situation is becoming more chaotic, and on the ground, the situation completely looks out of hand because the people are anxious that what if they don't possess the documents, what's going to happen? Will they be declared as foreigners? Will they be declared as second-class citizens? These are the fears which so far Election Commission has not tried to address. In fact, now the bureaucrats have also started writing to the Election Commission, and one of them is Mr. EAS Sarma, who is the former secretary to the government of India, and he's addressed a letter to Mr. Ganesh Kumar, Mr. Sandhu, and Mr. Joshi, who are the three election commissioners, saying that this entire process is exclusionary. He has sent them an email and he hasn't heard anything from the Election Commission so far, but we'll try and understand as to how this process is exclusionary, what is it going to result into. Joining me this evening is Mr. EAS Sarma, former secretary to the government of India. So it's a real pleasure to have you on the program. And in your letter, I was looking at your letter and read it carefully, where you pointed out how exclusionary this entire process will be. And if you can explain that how this exclusion will unfold for the people, whether it is the tribals, whether it is the backwards, whether it is the OBCs, how is the exclusionary process going to unfold for all these people?
The guidelines issued by Election Commission of India, not only exclusion, it will result in widespread harassment of people. Now, they mentioned a number of documents which a voter should produce to be able to be eligible for inclusion in the electoral roll. Let us take those things by one. Birth rate. You see, they want birth certificate, not birth rate, birth certificate. Now, birth certificate in India, when you go to villages, ask people, very few of them will have this. Very few of them will go to the authorities, go through the hassle of registering their births. So I find that in Bihar, it is less than 3% of the population. Then the second one is government and PSU employees ID cards. I mean, it's everybody knows it's a very, very small percentage. Government size is shrinking. They're outsourcing services. There's also much less than 2%. Now, the important thing is in the case of tribals, they said Forest Rights Act certificate. I was Commissioner of Tribal Welfare in Andhra Pradesh. I know this 2006 legislation. I know I go to the tribal areas here. In the case of Bihar, I went through the data given by the Minister for Tribal Affairs to the Parliament. And in the case of Bihar, 4,496 claims were received and they were mostly rejected, except 191 where they granted the certificates. That means basically they are not, implementing the act properly. I mean, there's a lot of criticism on all the states, actually, not only Bihar, everywhere. So to cite this Forest Rights Act certificate, I think is, in my view, it is very, very erroneous. Then many other documents which are not relevant. Two things which are not mentioned. One is Aadhaar card. Now, everybody knows Aadhaar card, it's the Government of India's statutory identity card. And I looked at the population of Bihar and projected in how many Aadhaar cards. Roughly 87.5% of the population of Bihar, they have Aadhaar cards. Okay, at least, a large percentage is included, but still it excludes some people. Then ration cards. Now, ration cards is something universal. It's a robust kind of a thing because I was asking some migrant workers in Delhi, and they said, from Bihar, they said, sir, we'll go to Bihar and vote there because my ration card is there. So why are they not mentioning that ration card? At least about 95% of the people have ration cards because they need rations. So that is not done. In addition to this, this particular kind of thing, where it excludes the voters, it actually affects scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and OBCs, other disadvantaged sections, people who have very low literacy levels, minorities, women, many backward areas in Bihar, because that's where literacy rates are low. It will exclude lakhs and lakhs of voters from the electoral process. Something very, very serious. That's not the only thing. In Annexure B of the guidelines, there is a clause 5B, where they said if you find a foreigner, you report to the concerned authorities. Now, I know what this means in Assam. Somebody going on the road and the policeman says, you look like a foreigner. And then they arrest him and put him in jail for 2 or 3 years. And because he doesn't know what documents are. He must be having all those documents. He doesn't understand the meaning. So some public-spirited NGO went to the High Court, and High Court ultimately said, produce the document. They had all the documents of citizenship. The High Court said, no, he's not a foreigner. But in the process, he lost his livelihood, he lost his children's education. I brought it to the notice of the National Human Rights Commission, Assam Human Rights Commission. They were in touch with me. So this is something which I'm worried about. See, the electoral process, polling is one thing, you exclude people. Then you subject them to harassment. It looks as though the whole thing is targeted against some people.
But do you see this as some sort of conspiracy against the citizens of India? And when it comes to Bihar, and of course, starting with Bihar, because many people, the election data scientists I have been in touch with, and they have given me interviews on various platforms, and they have said that, the Form 7, Form 8, then Form 17C, they tried to spike up the vote percentage, but they couldn't get too much of success. So now they are trying to devise a totally new methodology for Bihar elections, and this is happening through special intensive revision of the electoral roll. So do you also suspect that this is some kind of a new tactics to steal votes, to steal the mandate? Do you see this as some kind of a new tactics?
Yes, I think so. I remember the last intensive survey in Bihar was done in 2003. At the time, there is one Mr. K.J. Rao, who was an employee of the Election Commission. Later on, he was appointed as advisor. He went from door to door and verified. It became a hero, a legend in Bihar. He did a fantastic, very good job. I invited Mr. K.J. Rao to come to Visakhapatnam to show me. I was retired at that time. We went to a constituency. We did a limited door-to-door survey. And I saw how he does it. This is not the way. I mean, he did it in a very, very constructive way. And then local inquiry, find out from neighbors, others, local people. And it was a very systematic kind of thing. Instead of that, I don't know why Election Commission suddenly thought of these very, very exotic things like forest rights act certificate and something, that kind of thing is very, very, I feel very worried because this will lead to a great deal of harassment. And election commission, every member, he's selected through a process where the majority is the political executive, NDA government. So there is
No,
already a feeling they're not independent. So they should
yes.
go out of the way to establish their trust with the people. Every time a political party makes a complaint, or a personal complaint, election commission's response is not to address the complaint. They'll say, oh, somebody's making complaint, vexatious complaint, they're eroding the credibility of the electoral process by not addressing such concerns, they're eroding it further.
Mr. Sarma, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Manoj Jha, Dipankar Bhattacharya, several of them, when they came out and addressed the press, they said that this meeting with the Election Commission was unfriendly. It was not cordial at all because the Election Commission was not ready to hear us on any single point. But my question to you is that since this process has already begun, it began on 25th of June. It's a month-long process which is going to end presumably on July 25th. The monsoon session starts on 21st July, and if we are to presume that the opposition parties will raise this issue, I think with just 4 or 5 days in hand, much of the time will be lost. What should be the immediate steps taken by the people of Bihar, by the political parties who are opposing this process?
The only, the time available is very short. This kind of a survey cannot be done, I can tell you. Straight away, I conducted elections. Now, the only way is to go to the court. I wish the highest court in the country, looks at all this TV coverage and all these reports and all that, takes so much cognizance of this. At least they should ask questions saying, why? Are you excluding? See, excluding a voter from the electoral process is a very serious matter. And subjecting him to harassment as an additional dose.
It's like disenfranchising crores and crores of voters, not only in one state, that is Bihar, but since they have said that they will replicate a similar exercise in other states, so which means it's going to create havoc in the country.
Absolutely. In fact, they are going to use this process to exclude huge chunks of the voters, especially the people whose literacy levels are low, people who are disadvantaged, who are diffident. They don't know what a document means. This is something which is highly objectionable. See,
No,
India,
but where do these people go? Where is the government planning to put these people? I mean, they look like they will be called the second-class citizens, or they will be declared as foreigners that, look, you're not supposed to stay in the country. Are they going to banish them from the country? What is the government planning? I really want to understand their intention.
One is at a loss as far as the government's point of view is concerned. I don't know really what they mean. But election commission is an authority supposed to function independently under Article 324 of the Constitution. See, they should not take, it looks as though election commission is more on the side of the political executive, one party, than on the side of the people of India. Leave alone political parties, people of India. See, thousands of these, lakhs and lakhs of Biharis, on the TV I see, they're protesting. Now, can't something be done? I hope, and I sincerely hope, that the highest court takes cognizance of this and takes it as so moto kind of a case and then examines it. I think that's very, very important. Otherwise, if this is going to happen in other states, it will have a devastating impact on democracy. It's a very, very serious matter.
In fact, CPIM General Secretary Mr. Dipankar Bhattacharya, I had interviewed him for the same channel yesterday, and he said that, you remember the demonetization moment when the entire country was caught unawares. It's a similar kind of an exercise. It's like a demonetization of votes, and he went to the extent of using the word vote bandi. That was note bandi, and this time it is vote bandi in Bihar. This is what he said on my channel yesterday. Would you agree that this is like a demonetization of votes in Bihar, which is taking place?
Absolutely. Very well said. Very well said. I fully agree with that. It looks as though it's a deliberate process to disenfranchise large chunks of the electorate. It's a very, very serious matter. I fully agree with you.
But what does it call for? It's like an emergency situation where your democracy is being battered left, right, and center by the political executives. The courts are blind. So what is the option left with as far as the political parties and the people of Bihar are concerned?
I don't know. I cannot suggest anything to political parties. They have to come together and they have to go to the court They have to apply pressure on the government, apply pressure on the election commission. Obviously, election commission is not prepared to even listen to any kind of questions on this. They are completely insulated themselves. They shoot the messenger. See, when some warning bells are there from the people of Bihar and all, the election commission, the members should sit up and say what is happening, and we are an independent authority. Say this should not have happened. But obviously, they are not responding. So my only hope is that the courts, the last resort in India, and we have faith in that institution, and I hope they intervene.
Mr. Sarma, you have decades of bureaucratic experience. Have you ever seen any government disenfranchising its own citizens like this on the pretext of revising the electoral rolls? Have you ever heard at all in the history of India previously?
Never, never. I mean, I conducted elections in a district, and I've been I was in the bureaucracy for almost about 35 years, but this never happened. This kind of developments, I feel very worried. I am a senior citizen, and I really worry about the future of this country, young people.
What is your biggest worry and fear at this moment, Mr. Sarma? Because what we feel that is going to create another class of citizens, which is going to be the second class citizens, which will not have their voting rights, or which will not have their citizenship. They will be bereft of all the government benefits they have been availing so far. What is really going to happen to these second class of citizens?
No, they're reducing citizens to receivers of charity. All the rights will get extinguished this way. And I was worried in Haryana election. The court said produce video proceedings. Immediately they went and amended Rule 93 of the Conduct of Election Rules in a great hurry to see that video recordings are not kept beyond 45 days. Why are you afraid? See, video recordings are made at the expense of my tax money, other public money. And why should you do this? See, why are you trying to sort of, completely reduce the transparency of the whole process? You don't want to be transparent to the public. You don't want to listen to the political parties. This is not the first time. Even earlier cases also, political parties, when they come, you say, no, you are unnecessarily questioning everything. That means you are taking sides.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I remember Mr. Rajiv Kumar, the former CEC, whenever he was asked about these doubts, whenever he was asked about these questions, they said that no, the political parties are creating an unnecessary fear. This is fear mongering. And this is like suspecting the entire government machinery and the process. Now, the similar kind of things again will be raised by the Election Commission. So how does one address these problems then? Is there no way out to address these issues at all? When all the institutions have been captured, there is no resort, the courts are blind. What does one do then? What is the option?
The source of the trouble is the way election commissions are chosen, the selection process. I mean, the Supreme Court advised them to make it independent, but the present government is not willing to. Something very serious. So this is where the people of India and all political parties should join hands and question. You cannot choke democracy in this country. Ours is a democracy. Dr. Ambedkar, who has authored the Constitution, if you read his speech, it's a very telling thing. He says, I don't know about this paper. Will it give democracy? I'm not sure. If good people operate a bad constitution, it will be good governance. If bad people operate a good constitution, it will be bad governance. And today we see this happening. See, people want to be in power forever. And they don't mind, bending all rules. They don't mind taking company donations, right and left. I mean, is it a democracy or is it a corporatocracy? I raised this question earlier.
Mr. Sarma, I've been speaking to a few lawyers also because I've been talking on this issue consistently, or not on one, but many platforms, with the only idea that this issue is not an issue which should be left. And you have to step up the gas on this particular issue because it's something very, very serious. It's a serious threat to the democracy. And many lawyers, and off the record, obviously, I'm not going to name them, but they said that Mr. Rajiv Kumar was seen as a fraudulent chief election commissioner. And what Gyanesh Kumar is doing now with this exercise in Bihar is a bigger thuggery than what Rajiv Kumar indulged into. What do you feel?
See, this is something where anybody in the public somehow gets the impression that this election commission is not independent. I don't want to use strong words, but they should ponder over this because there are people who are put in that position. I remember Mr. Session. I knew him personally. Mr. Session was appointed by the executive, but he rose above that, and he became a household word. Now, these people should know that they are given a very special position under the Constitution. They are answerable to the Constitution, not the political executive. If they got any conscience today, after seeing all these video recordings, the TV coverage of Bihar voters, the political parties' complaints, public complaints, and all that, if there is any conscience left in the election commission, they should respond.
But are you hopeful that the letter which you sent to Mr. Gyanesh Kumar and Mr. Joshi and the third election commissioner, are you going to hear anything from them? Because in the past also, it's written several letters.
I wrote several letters to the election, not only on this. I raised several issues. They never respond because such letters, the reply is very inconvenient. See, if there is a straightforward institutional autonomy, they would have replied me. They would have contradicted me, right royally. But they are not doing that. That shows that they're weak. They cannot reply. They cannot answer.
But if this process gets unfolded in Bihar, which is already underway, and then it's going to get extended to other states, is it going to become like a nationwide threat now for every citizen in the country? Right now, and people have said that it's almost like a demonetization plus NRC moment, which people are not realizing. It's going to dawn on the people only when it comes to them. So, our job is to make the people aware of what the intention of the government, what the intention of the election commission is, and how does one do that?
I think, this election commission should know that the basis for democracy is transparency. Basis for democracy is discussion and debate and public accountability. They are accountable. Now, if you don't follow these rules, then you are leading to chaos. And I can tell you, chaos can affect everybody. And people may get elected today in the name of democracy. But if they cut at the root of democracy, they are the people who are going to get affected. So I think this is where I think a long-term view is required. And I hope the courts intervene in this. I hope the judiciary intervenes, takes over to call this. After all, Bihar people, the way they're protesting, they're all open on the TV. Many channels are covering this. Something very serious, actually.
Last time when we heard so much about the epic numbers and the epic cards, what happens to all that? Does it not remain a relevant document at all? It's a document which was given by the government of India, and now they're questioning their own documents. I just don't understand the rationale behind it.
I remember, when I was in government, much junior and all that, I went to, I think, Munirkar, someplace in Delhi, and then for Epic, this first electoral vote identity card, and that never saw the light of daylight. And then subsequently, I must have given my biometrics for Aadhaar card. I must have given, I went and got my electoral ID card and all that. I don't know what's happening to all this process. And there's all public money spent. Where is going to them? All that money is being spent. Is it wasteful expenditure? See, Aadhaar card, it's a huge process.
Mr. Sarma, it is like doing and undoing your own processes. It's a process which has been done by the government of India. Now, one fine day, suddenly it dawns on the government that no, it doesn't suit them politically. So let's undo that process, no matter how much money has gone wasted and how much of the taxpayers' money has gone down the drain. It doesn't make a difference to them. So is the government now questioning its own processes in a way?
Yeah. See, the Aadhaar card, they spent a hell of a lot of money, and then it's a statutory process. It's not an ordinary process, it's a statutory process. Ration cards, people spend. I am surprised when a ration card is issued by one state government. The next government comes and they keep a photo of the chief minister. They change everything and then issue a ration card. But at the same time, the ration card is still a robust ID. Aadhaar card is some kind of a robust ID. So what are you doing with all that? And you want to introduce new dimensions to the chaos? Something very serious.
Very unfortunate as well, but I really have no answers to how this problem is going to be addressed, how the political parties, and especially the opposition, how it's going to raise this issue. I don't know, except for one ray of hope that people come out on the streets and raise this issue, starting from Bihar and, of course, to all other states where this exercise is going to be undertaken. Thank you so much, Mr. Sarma. And as long as people like you continue to write, continue to speak, continue to talk, and as long as platforms like these, which exist on which we can raise issues like this, I think there is some ray of hope. But as of now, everything looks like in a dark abyss. We don't know. But I'm just doing my bit of raising this issue, making the people aware every day of the dangers which are lurking around the democracy we reside in. Thank you so much, Mr. Sarma, for joining on HW.
Thank you.